right, Culture Caucus. It's just me this week. I'm very sorry to disappoint. No guests, no partner in news, just a solo episode where I get to spill, rant, and vibe directly with you. Think of it as like a one-on-one happy hour where the drinks are strong, the politics are messy, and the pop culture is endless. So buckle up. This week we're going full superhero trailer mode, Newsom versus Trump, plus the shows that keep me completely sane and grounded when the world gets just a little bit too loud. Let's dive in. In a world where politics feels more like a Marvel movie than real life, two figures emerge. One, the glossy, square-jawed hero, cape-flowing, fighting for the future of California and beyond. The other, an orange-tinted villain, plotting chaos from his gilded lair, surrounded by sidekicks nobody auditioned for, like Laura Limmer's. This week, a political read, it's Gavin Newsom versus Donald Trump, the superhero and the supervillain. Who wins? Who flops? And who desperately needs a better costume designer? I think we both know who that is. Okay, so I thought it would be really interesting to talk about, obviously, Trump versus Newsom. It's been an ongoing thing, new scum and all of the other like typical words and insults that Trump loves to throw when somebody kind of gets under his orange skin, beyond his orange peel of a layer, if you will. And it kind of really kicked off this week after Trump basically told the Republicans in Texas that he wanted to win the midterms. He wanted basically a surefire thing, similar to Georgia, right? When I only need 11,000 XYZ votes. So if you're not familiar with this whole story, let me kind of just give you the breakdown. And I'm going to use not ChatGPT, but I'm going to use Google AI to really help frame what I'm talking about. So redistricting, right? If you guys are not familiar, this is what redistricting is. So the easiest way to explain redistricting is to think of a process of redrawing election maps. Okay, so this is when it's election time, either midterms or presidential election, and you're going to vote, right? And so if you've ever watched, the presidential countdown and they're looking at each county and they're looking at each map and which one is going to go red, which one is going to go blue, those are the maps that we're talking. So those are the election maps. So following the US Census, every 10 years, right? So that's when they're asking how many people are in your household, you're the head of household, how many families, what ethnicity, what background you are. So every 10 years, the US Census. So new population data is used to create these congressional. So that means our representatives in DC, Republican and Democrat and some independents in Washington, DC, and also in your own state. So that's how we get our state laws, right? We have our state assembly and we have our state senate. And so every 10 years, new population data is used to create these congressional and state legislative districts that have roughly the names of the same number of people. Why they get redrawn is so as our populations grow, which we know in the US population is insane, especially here in California. Every week, it seems like they're literally knocking down an old building and building up a new apartment complex that's like going for $5,000, which is absolutely insane for a one bedroom. It's like 600 square feet. Anyways, so as the population shifts, the districts have to be redrawn to maintain this principle of one person, one vote. So if a district's population grows, so Los Angeles County, Santa Clara County, just using California as references, if a district population grows, its boundaries must shrink. And if its population shrinks, its boundaries must expand to keep each district balanced. So they want to make sure that it's representative. Congressional seats. After each census, there's 435 seats in the House of Representatives. So those are congressmen in DC, and they are reappointed among the states to reflect the population changes. So states that gain or lose seats then redraw their district lines to accommodate the change. And then local elections. So the process also applies to our local districts, such as those for city councils, school boards, and county commissions. So those are the ones that you will see that are really hyper local, which often people don't see as really important. Sometimes a lot of people don't even vote in those ones. I highly recommend that you look those up. Those are the people that are deciding your laws in your city. And also the ones that are doing the book bans and all of that stuff, those are the school boards. So really important things to look out for that people tend to kind of dismiss because it's like not the big sexy one of our president or senators and or congressmen, right? Or women or Congress folks. So that's like the background. That's the story. This is what this redistricting is all about. But why it's super fascinating is, again, they're supposed to be redrawn every 10 years based on the census. Well, Trump is basically telling the Republicans in Texas, I want you to redo the maps so that I win the midterms. What does that mean? It means he wants to ensure that they have all the control in Congress, federal judges. So like that's where all of this other aspect of this really comes into play is senators vote on federal judges. Not all federal judges. I think all federal judges, actually, yeah, all federal judges. And if anyone's comes up for the Supreme Court, right? So those are super important. And so he wants to ensure that happens. Also, they have the majority right now in Congress, but if they are able to get more seats, then they won't have to worry about having this very slight majority of like less than 10 Republicans more than Democrats, because then there's less people that can be swayed. They have the supermajority, then Democrats don't really have a lot of say. All they can do is communication through the news and through town halls, op-eds, things like that to really influence, but they can't do a lot on the congressional floor. Their hands are even more tied the more distance that gets between the majority party and the minority party. So that's kind of what is all going on. What's even more fascinating is that Americans, a lot of people will say, what are the Democrats doing? You know, you can say a lot of things about Republicans, but they play to win and they don't care what the cost is. They'll go hard and they'll succeed. And Democrats don't play that hard. They'll talk about all the right things. They're supportive of the right people, but sometimes they're too academic. They're not willing to get in the mud. They're not willing to cause the noise. They want to be the moral high ground, but where does that leave us when we're not playing with another person that is also thinking about moral high ground? They're thinking about just playing to win no matter the cost, right? So Newsom is trying a whole different style of politics. He has asked J.D. Vance to debate with him on policy. He has really taken a whole different approach to national politics than a lot of other Democrats, and a lot of Democrats are starting to follow that lead. How can we tap into that communication style? How can we tap into this kind of meet them where they're at? And if nothing else, it makes people feel that they're heard, that we're not going to just let them do something dirty and wrong. We're going to come out with them with whatever tools that we can as well. So Newsom has said, okay, if you're going to do that, Texas, you huge state, then California will redistrict as well. There's currently 9 congressional seats for Republicans that are held by Republicans currently in California. So if they redistrict that and make it more pro-leaning Democrat, then that can offset or influence the power grab that they're trying to do in Texas. So there's this kind of push and pull. People have a lot of opinions about it, whether it's right, whether it's wrong, what kind of precedent it sets, because another state could do that. So then we could just end up in this whole situation where people are not represented properly. But the idea is to really elevate the conversation, to start thinking outside of the box, to call your bluff. For the Democrats in Texas, this is the second time, or one of the multiple times. A couple of years ago was a big one, where when this redistricting was coming to a vote on the floor of the Texas State House, the Democrats left, literally left the state so that they wouldn't have to go to the floor and vote. So they basically were like, you can't vote without us there, and we are going to delay it, and we are going to create this national conversation. And so they split off into different states, including Illinois. And so they're really trying to broaden the conversation, bring a lot of awareness around it. So you can say that they are really trying to delay this process to make people really aware of what is at stake. And I think that's really, really important because it can be so kind of nerdy or sound really uninteresting, redistricting. I don't really want to like scroll. I don't want to double click on the link to find out more about that. But this is why it's so important, right? It really sets up our future. And it's really about Trump one saying, you will do as I say, to a co-equal branch of government. Even though it's a state house, it's still kind of, it's affecting a co-equal branch of government with Congress. So I think that's important. And then again, that whole federal judge thing, which is also really important for when you're trying to say, hey, no, that's illegal. But now there's a federal judge that was appointed by Trump. They could say, well, I could view it this way. And now this law that's on the books or, policy can now be shifted into a different direction. So I think that's why that's super fascinating. So there's a lot going on with that. And then Newsom hired this Gen Z social media manager, and she's been trolling the shit out of Trump. And it's hysterical because that's where he really likes to do his bullying. That's really like where he likes to send out his, memos almost, if you will. If you guys remember, he was really big on Twitter and like even trying to send out foreign policy at like midnight on Twitter. And then he got kicked off of Twitter before Elon Musk bought it and changed it to X. But now he's really trying to make, true social a thing. Like girl fetch ain't gonna happen, right? Like stop trying to make fetch happen. So he's still on there doing his little truth, whatever they're called. And so now this Gen Zer is really trolling the shit out of him and he cannot stand it. He's so pissed. This is a place where he thinks he wins. And I'm just assuming she's female. I actually need to look it up, but I'm pretty sure she is because she's kicking his ass, which makes it even better. So I thought that was just like a super fascinating thing to talk about on our one-on-one happy hour today. My pretend version of being some kind of political expert. Okay, but that can be super overwhelming. So how do you clear your head when we're talking about the potential downfall of democracy and we're talking about consolidation of power and, some fear the last of the presidency and before we move into dictatorship and all of that stuff? How do you clear your head? How do you palate cleanse? So for me, it's like finding a comfort show. So something that I've been like really watching lately on Netflix, kind of rediscovering, is the show Mom, which stars Allison Janney and Anna Faris, which I love Anna Faris. I think she is so fucking funny. I'm so happy she's coming back to the Scary Movie franchise with Regina Hall. And I think it's going to be fucking brilliant. I think the time is needed. But in the show, she plays Allison Janney's daughter. They're both in recovery for alcoholism, which doesn't sound funny. They go to a lot of meetings and stuff like that with their other group of friends. But it is so funny, the dynamics between the two of them as mother and daughter, a lifetime of trauma. But it is absolutely hysterical. 30 minutes of pure nonstop laughter. Highly recommend it just to really like release these intensity of emotions that we all have with everything going on in the world and wars constantly. It's just such a good disconnect. I laugh so fucking hard. Also, I'm a huge, huge, huge Alien fan. I love sci-fi. And Alien just started a TV show, Alien Earth on Hulu. And I really wasn't sure like how they were going to make this work. How do you retell the story again? They just came out with the movie Alien Romulus last year. So I'm like, how is this all going to play out? It's done so well. It fits within that universe, but it also feels new and modern. But it really is connected back to this kind of whole structure of the Alien world, the world within the Alien franchise. So I think it's so well done. I'm 3 episodes in, highly, highly, highly recommend it. Visually, it's beautiful, compelling, and eerie, and all the things that you would want from Alien. Also, obviously, we have to talk about Real Housewives. OC's like, okay, it's fine. I don't know why they brought Gretchen back. Well, I do know why they brought Gretchen back. It's to initiate the downfall of Tamra, which I'm for, although Gretchen is a horrible person. She's MAGA lover. She is transphobe. She's homophobic. And she looks like there's a recent meme, I'll pop it in here, of her looking like JonBenet Ramsey. I don't know if that's funny or not, but it's a hysterical, her confessional look that people are making the reference. OC tends to go really dark. And that's why I've never really been a big fan of OC, but there's not many housewife shows on right now. Although we just got the trailer for Salt Lake City, and again, Chef's Kiss. It's going to be amazing again. Super excited about that coming back. And then we have to talk about Miami. So they're in Sevilla, Spain right now. And this has been an absolute fire season. I should have listened to you all when you told me years ago to watch Miami, that it was the best show on Bravo. And y'all were right. And I should have started sooner. But I started maybe last season or the season before that. And it is fucking brilliant. The dynamics between all the girls. Love how multicultural it is. I love the Spanglish. And I'm going to Spain in a couple of weeks. So even more perfect. Great timing. The drama between Larsa and Lisa, which there's been memes about, there's not one brain cell between them. So it makes the fight even more hysterical. And currently they're feuding about Larsa's ex-boyfriend, who is Michael Jordan's son, Marcus Jordan. And he was treating Larsa allegedly really badly. So, they broke up. There was paparazzi of Marcus doing a little stimulant. And whatever. So that was like a whole drama. But Lisa and Larsa used to be really close friends, and Lisa hasn't unfollowed Marcus. And the whole feud between them is around Lisa not unfollowing Marcus and Larsa being really pissed about it. And obviously, like, the simple answer is like, girl, that's allegedly your friend. If she's asking you to unfollow her ex-boyfriend, who is like coming at her online, the answer is pretty simple, right? Like, just unfollow them. It's not a big deal. It's, first of all, it's just fucking Instagram. If you still want to be friends with them, go ahead and text them. But if she's like, could you not publicly be friends with somebody that's attacking me? But Larsa's also a horrible person with no empathy. So I don't really have a lot of like grace for her. But the dynamics of them fighting over something so stupid is so beautiful. Housewives, especially when you're on the streets of Sevilla and you're fighting about an unfollow, like, absolutely fucking hysterical. So such a good show. Highly, highly recommend. And then, of course, I couldn't leave you without two LGBTQ+ friendly or queer friendly or gay friendly recommendations. They're slightly, I don't want to say old, but they came out in June. And one is continuing that like concept of like releasing drama or really like letting yourself just laugh so hard, is Mateo Lane's Al Dente special on Hulu. I feel like I should get like a Hulu sponsorship. Hulu, which is owned by Disney. So maybe it could be a Disney princess. Anyways, Mateo Lane's comedy special, Al Dente, on Hulu. Absolutely amazing. I love, especially now, it's starting to become more common, but with all the LGBT attacks under this administration, over 100 different anti-LGBT policies, I think it's so important, and I think it's so powerful when we have amazing artists that are confident and out and proud. We talked about Las Culturistas Award last week with Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang. And then you have Mateo Lane and having this huge Hulu special, I did it again, Hulu special, and talking about things that are real, that are like, as a gay man, things that happen. I think it's just so important. And also it's just fucking funny. It's super relatable. And it goes back to the idea of like, you want to be seen and represented on TV, right? Or in media or in pop culture. And it makes you feel validated and it makes you feel not alone. And I think that's so important right now. So I think highly recommend that. And then We have to talk about Benito Skinner's Overcompensated on Amazon Prime. So we're moving from Hulu streaming into Netflix to Amazon to Hulu. Yeah, all of them. So you're going to have to get all the subscriptions. Sorry about that. Or get a login from your friend while we can still do that. Netflix said no, but Hulu. And anyways, point is absolutely, it's like a a coming out story. It's based on his true experiences. I think probably a lot of you got familiar with Benito Skinner doing his incredible, hilarious videos of the Kardashians and of other celebrities and cultural moments. So I was really just happy to see him succeed and win, especially as a gay man, to see him just kind of like having this huge moment. They were the number 1 show worldwide on Amazon Prime Video, and I was so proud of him. I mean, I don't know him, but I'm proud of him because I can imagine all those years of hard work and sketches and wigs and all of the outlandish things that he's done just to see him win. And he created the show, he writes the show, and he stars in it. So it's like the gay version of Lena Dunham in Girls without the nepotism. And it's so fucking funny. I think it's also like 8 or 10 episodes, so fucking bingeable, a real story about friendship, about finding yourself, about coming out. It is hysterical. There are moments when you cry. There's moments where you're like, oh, yeah, I've been there. I've definitely done that thing. So I think just another one I highly, highly recommend. But I'd love if you drop in the comments, what are the things that you listen to? What podcasts, other than this one, do you go to disconnect, have fun? What shows are you listening to? What movies are you watching? What albums are you obsessing over? How do you disconnect from the madness of the world? And that's it, guys. I know it's kind of a shorter episode, but yeah, we will see you soon. Thanks for tuning in, Culture Caucus. Okay, 2 things. I didn't give you the drink of the week. The drink of the week is red wine. It was nice to just have a minute. This week wasn't too crazy for me in my full-time world, and watching everything go down between Trump and Newsom, definitely red wine worthy. 2, if the shit that we talked about this week pissed you off, good. Here's how you can plug in, and here's how you can make it count. So 1, League of Women Voters, people-powered fairness maps. So the League of Women Voters, they search your state, they help you with maps. So they train you to give public comment and tell you when to show up. Okay, so super important. Number 2, Common Cause. So Common Cause, you can sign up for text alerts. They text you when map hearings are about to happen, and they hand you a script also, so you know what's going on. You feel confident of how to speak to it. 3, All on the Line NDRC. So they help you with a coordinated big picture strategy. They organize phone banks. They help you with town halls, pressure campaigns aimed at the right people that are making the map. And then the Brennan Center for Justice. These are legal nerds suing bad maps and publishing the receipts. So they skim their state briefs, they steal their talking points for your testimony, make it really clean, super easy, so you can be really impactful. And then 5 is Represent Us. So they're long-term reform. Represent Us pushes independent commissions and ballot measures, so this game cannot get rigged for another 10 years. So some really great tools out there if you want to really start fighting back up against these redistricting efforts, making sure that no voice is dismissed. Everyone is one voice and really heard. So a couple of great tools out there. All right, Culture Caucus. See you next week.